There are lots of technologies that are available, a lot of healthcare research that are coming up that actually cater to healthy aging. It's called healthy and happy aging, embracing the age as opposed to feeling sad, uh, as opposed to feeling depressed. So basically, they say something called blue zones. So blue zones, I mean, it's a technical word they use. Particularly, it's about how we can actually prolong our performance and have an exceptional longevity. And particularly, just few things that we already know from our yogic practices and what our grandfathers or great grandfathers used to do in rural life is a few things. Basically, they say that there are just 5 keys to a long and happy life, which is move around a lot, de-stress regularly, have robust social ties, because the social well-being is extremely important. But with the type of sort of a Western way of thinking and culture, it is a hyper individualized culture. Therefore, I think it is more pertinent in the countries in Western world where they should really retweak at how to actually create your lifestyle in a different way as people become 65 plus. And also other thing is, of course, you have to eat well and eat mostly plants and reduce your food intake, because there are a lot of scientific literature that suggests that as you reduce your food intake, it helps in vitality. It brings the vitality. It is not more is more. It is actually less is more. And suddenly it applies to, I don't want to go too much into medical jargon here, but there is a process called autophagy that happens with intermittent fasting as well. What that process does is it's a very powerful healing and rejuvenation process, where it can actually get rid of some of the toxic cells, some of the precancerous cells in the body. Even certain areas in the joints and other things are known to really get benefit because of this, sort of a holistic sattvic food style, as we call. So, but before I prolong a little bit more, I want to make sure whether am I out of the scope of the conversation here?
No, I think you're making a lot of sense, Prakash.
No.
Definitely.
No, very nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, there are just few other things I want to say. I at some point I'll find some literature and send you guys. That interesting enough, as people say, people as they become older, even geriatric, 80 plus octogenarian people, actually their ability to make debates, their ability to present arguments actually improve. At the age of 70 plus, suddenly they acquire a lot of, you can even call superhuman like qualities at that time. As you can see, a lot of politicians, just go around and see, some of their best oratory skills come when they become 70 plus. You look at advocates, lawyers. We had Ram Jethmalani in India, very famous, and there are very stalwart advocates. In fact, if you look at Supreme Court justices in the US, they are already touching geriatric populations. They become extremely powerful in how they present their arguments. So that means to say that there are certain cerebral capacity. So basically, the way to phrase is, it's not like a slope that goes and then just comes down after 60. It's like there are multiple peaks for different human performances, and a different age group, different attributes of human functions actually peak. So that's a blessing in disguise. What actually diminishes with the old age is basically any muscle movement that requires sudden tweak. That's why you see people tend to break their joints. The joint become fragile, or certain muscle, particularly ankle, which is lifting the entire weight of the body, or hips and all that, they tend to fracture a lot, or fracture the ligaments and soft tissues. So anything that requires like sudden jerk movement, you are chasing your dog, or playing with your grandson or grandkids, granddaughter, that's where it can happen. So so there are different things that potentially, I look at it in a way that sometime in some society they're looking, in US, if you see, they put them in old nursing homes and stuff like that. That is not a very healthy way. because if I have seen a lot of these old nursing home, not nursing home, what they call, like old people living. There is a term for that in US.
Assisted living centers.
Yeah, assisted living center. Well, in a way, it is good for the sort of a business and everything, but in reality, actually, the mental happiness may not be at its best if you're living in places like that, because you are constantly reminding your mind that, hey, I'm old. That's why I'm staying here. In fact, mentally, you want to wire yourself is, I'm not old, I'm eternal. I'm there. I'm as it is. I can be as childlike as I want. And that mental state actually keeps people to kind of feel themselves very productive, feel themselves to be part of society, feel themselves part to be contributing to something, as opposed to I need care, you know. And then it's a beautiful harmony in that sense. And then people will ultimately seek out, even the younger people, younger politicians or younger officers, they'll come and seek out. I mean, I remember my own dad, he had to struggle through last few of years of his life, but his cerebral capacity was so good that he was a retired OS officer. So many young OS officers would come to meet him and to learn from his wisdom and learn how to tackle difficult, you know, court issues and stuff like that. So when that happens, automatically the older person is actually feeling energized, because the biggest energizing factor for any human being is to feel useful to other people. If we feel ourselves useful to 5 other people, suddenly our energy or our ojas will come back. And similarly, the younger generations are getting tons of benefit. So automatically they will be giving, nurturing. So it's a beautiful harmony to keep in that perspective. And I'll stop here.
No, I think you raised a very valid point, because one of the crises among all the crises, like financial problems, like boredom problems, one of the key problem with the retirement is also identity problem. Like if we can connect to the identity of the old position that you may have, or whatever those things materialistically, that is one way to look at. That will create more negative thinking. But suppose, as we talk about, like now the wisdom part of it, the emotional maturity, the spiritual maturity that old age can bring is, if you can focus on those strengths of the senior population, that can really motivate the society or the community at large to feel the importance of those aging population, and then try to take advantage of that, like connecting the young and old, like we call it bala bruddha, like the old mind becoming like a young mind. So if we can highlight those positive benefits of things like you mentioned about the cerebral changes in a positive way, people become more orator, like all the politicians and all these people can gain extraordinary confidence after attaining certain ages. So those things needs to be highlighted to focus the population of the younger generation, because these things are not taught in the school these days. So education has to definitely play a major role, as Dr. Bhagwan Prakash talk about, like how we can change those. So any other, very valid points, Prakash. Thank you very much for enlightening us with all your medical knowledge. So any other comments about this concept, friends? Anybody would like to speak? Few more different ways how we can take care of the aging population.
ମୁଁ କହିବାକୁ ଚାହୁଁଛି,
ଆଜ୍ଞା କୁହନ୍ତୁ।
ମୁଁ ବ୍ୟାଙ୍କରେ ଚାକିରି କରିଥିଲି, ଜୁଲାଇ 21 ରିଟାୟାର୍ଡ କଲି। ବ୍ୟାଙ୍କରେ ଏତେ କାମ ଥିଲା ଯେ ବେଳେ ବେଳେ ପେପର ବି ପଢି ହୁଏନି। ଆଉ ଘରର ଧର ଯୋଉ ଆମେ ଆଉଟସାଇଡ ଓଡିଶାର ବାହାରେ ଥାଉ, ଆଉ ଓଡିଶାରେ ଆମର କିଛି ଫଙ୍କସନ ହେଲେ ବି ଆସିପାରୁନି। ଆଉ ଏମିତି ଘର କାମ ବି ବହୁତ ରହିଯାଏ, ଏତେ ବ୍ୟସ୍ତ ଥାଉ। କିନ୍ତୁ ରିଟାୟାର୍ଡ କଲା ପରେ ସବୁ ଧର ଯୋଉ ଯାହା ବାକି କାମ ଥିଲା କଲୁ, କିନ୍ତୁ ବହୁତ ଟାଇମ ମିଳୁଛି ତାକୁ କେମିତି ଠିକ ଭାବେ ମାନେ ଉପଯୋଗ କରି, ସେଇଟା ହେଲା ମାନେ ଯୋଉମାନେ ଆପଣ କହୁଛନ୍ତି ଯୋଉ 60 ରୁ ଜଷ୍ଟ ରିଟାୟାର୍ଡ କରିଛନ୍ତି, ସେମାନେ ହଠାତ୍ ଦିନେ କୁହାଗଲା ତମେ 60 ବର୍ଷ ହେଇଗଲା ରିଟାୟାର୍ଡ କରିଛ, କିନ୍ତୁ ସେମାନଙ୍କ କାର୍ଯ୍ୟକ୍ରମ କରିବାର କ୍ଷମତା ଅଛି। ତେଣୁ ସେମାନେ କେମିତି ଟାଇମଟାକୁ ସଦୁପଯୋଗ କରିପାରିବେ। ଯେତେବେଳେ ଚାକିରି କରୁଥିଲୁ ବହୁତ କାମ ଥିଲା, ଅନ୍ୟ କାମ ପ୍ରତି ସମୟ ହଉନଥିଲା। କିନ୍ତୁ ଏବେ ସବୁ କାମ କଲା ପରେ, ପଢିଲା ପରେ ବି ସମୟ ମିଳୁଛି, ତାକୁ କେମିତି ଠିକ ଉପଯୋଗ କରାଯାଇପାରିବ ସେଇଟା ବିଷୟରେ ଯୋଉ ୟଙ୍ଗର ଓଲ୍ଡ ସେଇଟା ବିଷୟରେ ଟିକେ ମାନେ ଯଦି ହବ କିଛି କହିବେ।
Yeah, there is another concept, maybe at some point we should talk, is midlife crisis, as people say. I used to follow, um, watching movies of Amitabh Bachchan and few other like famous stars in India. And if you look at any movie stars, even in the US as well, when they're young, they have, all the lover boy look and everything, glamour and all that is there until maybe, early 40s or so. They play all these amazing roles, action roles, lover boy roles, and all that, and they're enjoying and they're doing extremely well. Then there will be a phase of time when all their movies will become flop, mainly because it's that little zone where they have an existential crisis. They're not at their best performing those glamorous role, and they're not yet ready, ripe to play a, sort of an oracle wisdom guy role. But if you suddenly see if they can transition and they embrace that aging, like they start to play like a older person role as a supporting actor, not as a main actor, suddenly they start to become superstar again. You can see pretty much all these movie stars' career. They make the mistake, they want to be in that moment of inertia or the thermos that we call, that as opposed to embracing as the things are going around and finding what is my peak, what I can deliver the best at the current situation. Then actually you bring your best. And I think just like Manoj was saying, that being with that sense of usefulness to the society and being complimented and feeling that sense of gratitude from other people and yourself as well can be one of the most powerful way of healthy and very, very happy aging process. And I think there was another thing that I was thinking is, this muscle strength and the fast movement of the muscle, that will go away because it's a very physical realm. But there are many practices that can be done which keeps the mental prowess very, very strong, the mental aptitude. And definitely yoga can be applied to very late age. Like we recently had a yogi in India who, supposedly claims to be more than 100 years or probably 110 years, I think. He got some significant award. I don't know whether it was Padma Bhushan, Padma Vibhushan or something like that. And then if you look at his posture, I mean, he is able to, walk, bend, do the completely prostrate and do the namaskar and everything. And then there is also an ancient practice in East Asia, like Tai Chi, Qigong, Reiki. Why these practices are so famous is because those practices can be done for people until very, very late age, 80, 90. And then also that makes person to feel that balance in a way that it prevents fall, apparently. So that is one thing to look at. It is in a lot of people in their old age usually suffer from a lot of injury, irreversible injuries because they fall. And by the time their bone is decalcified, and if they fall, they can have a major, problem in the body. So some of those things can be infused, and I think we can teach early to people, even make them prepared in their 40s and 50s to really how to embrace and the aging is that going forward. That is one thing. And just now we're speaking how we also bring the beautiful harmony between young and old. It works great. I mean, many old feel like I remember there are some cricket coaches, who have really been some of the very successful coaches of Australian team. They're already 65 plus. Some of them are 70 plus.
I think those are all good points, Prakash. Like, I think going back to a little bit what he was practically asking, like, how people have time, because it's a bank time not, but after retirement they've got a lot of time. But so what should they do? So let's try to point on that. Like, comment, like, how to really advise the retire after retirement. Ki kaun kale se mane sadupayog heiପାରିବ. So let's just talk about that.
Example, I will share a very small personal example. ମୁଁ ଦିଲ୍ଲୀରେ ଯୋଉ ଘରେ ରହୁଥିଲି the area in which I was staying near Connaught Place, so there was a gurudwara. So ସେ ଗୁରୁଦ୍ୱାରରେ ସେଠି ମୁଁ ଦେଖିଲି ତାଙ୍କର ଯେତେବେଳେ ଲଙ୍ଗର ହୁଏ, ସେ ଲଙ୍ଗରରେ I talked to some people and I found out most of them were retired people. ସେ କହିଲେ ଆମେ ଆସିକିରି we are cooking food for the devotees, cooking and distributing food for the devotees. Then there I found another older person, must be in his 70s. When I reached their meeting area, he came rushing towards me. So he took away my chappal. So he kept the chappal in its place and then started cleaning it. So when I returned, after making the round, when I returned, I asked him, what is your background? So he smiled and said that I was the Joint Secretary to the Government of India and I have retired 10 years ago, 15 years, 12, 13 years ago. Look, he is the Joint Secretary to the Government of India. In the Government of India, Joint Secretary is the head of the division, very senior officer in the bureaucracy. And he is washing your chappal, your sandals. So that is always he keeps himself busy and he gets a lots of satisfaction out of it. Then there are instances of people going back as teachers. So then there are instances older people telling their stories and experiences to the children. That is we call the value transfer. How the older generation can transfer its values to the younger generation. So there are many experiments going on. Gayatri, do you have any experience in America? She is not audible.
ଏବେ ଶୁଣା ଯାଉଛି?
ହଁ
ଆଚ୍ଛା ଓକେ Okay, thank you. बहुत बढ़िया सब चालची. This really good discussion. Everyone had really good points, including Prakash and Vikas sir and someone Vishnu Charan Panda ji likhi on the chat. Really good points. So more is there are few things. ना मु beginning रो जीबी beginning रो जो कहउथिले कि आमे जोटा ना तमे beginning रे कहथिले कोन करि परिबो अन्य माने कोन करि परिबे ए इशू करे रिटायरमेंट रे loneliness से एकदम से काम जो माने after the retirement suddenly everything stops and the whole schedule the daily schedule kind of changes and then since you don't have anything to do, people tend to be little more lazy. Okay, we can delay things. So all those things starts, and that also in a way that goes against the aging process, because mentally some of the depressed not will be isolation and many other things are there, right? Recognition of that. So more on that point, beginning on that point, I think definitely and a question like how can we help, right? Can we help? I think again charity begins at home. So we have to start from home only. घरे ही जेहेतु हमारे एजुकेशन सिस्टम रेटा नहीं, आई थिंक घरे ही हमें मानन को ही एजुकेट करिए पड़बा हम पिला मन हमर मन अछि. I still remember nana तमे तळे whenever I used to visit, nana सबले कहबे कि mama you have to spend more time with them because they are not going to be always there. You better spend time with them, and constantly you used to remind me. The same thing I think we need to remind our kids also, the importance of senior. I don't think there is any doubt at this point that the importance of our the older people, or not older, like people with more wisdom, people really with more experience, and it's very proven that any society that has the senior population, or any community that has senior members, or any home with senior people, definitely any decision making process or anything that we do, we have a guidance, we have an umbrella, and we know that, and they always bless us with their experience and their wisdom. And as Prakash was talking, right, there is no doubt. Maybe there is some physical level limitation, but other than those physical small limitations, there is no other limitation for older people. Now, coming back to Bikasar's point, I think that's really great that after your thank you for sharing. After your retirement, you're able to spend time for yourself. I think this is the time that we all need to find out what is our passion, what we really want to do, and maybe go a little beyond that and start doing something, not just, yes, doing yoga or doing meditation, being healthy, all that is good. That is definitely should be there. But more than that, you guys are what I want to say, you guys are very productive. You can actually help the community. You can help many other process, and the same process you can also get benefited. So I think it is just not, keep yourself healthy, keep yourself mentally, physically fit, but at the same time, I think we as little younger, and then we other younger generations, they all know the value that the experience that you have. I think we need little more, or as for the thing that I want to tell, that we don't want, I don't think after 60, we should engage ourselves in something like that requires 12 hours a day. No, maybe 4 to 6 hours a day. But that 4 to 6 hours a day from any retired, after retirement people, to actually either work for the community or do a job or do anything to help community, or just do your own passion is very important. And I think as a retired people, it has to be top down. It just cannot be one person. It has to be younger people also taking care. You guys taking care of yourself and making sure that you got that opportunity. From the government side, I think they need to recognize it. And on your question is, in US, there's no age at 65, but I think there's no age. After 65 also, if you want to work, you can work. And lot of people here work. And that's how I think the longevity is kind of better. I feel like, I don't know, if not longevity, but at least the older people support themselves a lot longer than probably in India. But at the same time, India, we have a better system, a joint family system where we kind of support each other. I think I spoke a lot.
I think very good point. ମୁଁ ଗୋଟେ ଜିନିଷ ପଢି ଦଉଛି, ଯୋଉ ବିଷ୍ଣୁ ଭାଇ ଲେଖିଛନ୍ତି, ବିଷ୍ଣୁ ଚରଣ ପଣ୍ଡା ଲେଖିଛନ୍ତି, in his opinion, elderly population after retirement experience loneliness and social isolation, which can lead to depression and other health issues. Younger people can offer their time and companionship to help seniors feel connected and engaged. Similarly, seniors can provide mentoring support to society as per their expertise and experiences. बहुत बढ़िया point कहले, मैं गोटे point summarize करिया चाहूतली कि there are different kind of ages. Like there is a chronological age. आमे केबे जन्म होइतिले, so that defines our chronological age. But if you really want to identify different ages, our mental age अलगा ही परे, our emotional age अलगा ही परे, our intellectual age अलगा ही परे, our spiritual age अलगा ही परे. So if we can identify ourselves with the right age that we can really feel strong about, like physical population, physical age which there is no control. But if you identify yourself with your mind, your mental maturity, with spiritual maturity, then you can do a lot of things. ଆମର ଗୋଟେ ଏଠି ଏକ୍ସାମ୍ପଲ ଦେବାକୁ ଚାହୁଁଥିଲି, ଜଣଙ୍କର ସାଙ୍ଗ ଅଛନ୍ତି ଏଠି କାଲିଫର୍ଣ୍ଣିଆରେ କି ତାଙ୍କର ALS disease like multiple sclerosis ହେଇଛି, So he has been sustaining his life for last 20 years. We have seen through meditation and singing and all these things. But say sabu alga jo लोक मानकर हेची mental ये जो similar problem multiple sclerosis से जाके समझो inspire करती. Look, your body doesn't have power right now, but mind is still agile. Your mind is still powerful. So do some prayer for others. Do some thinking process. So there are so many ways that elderly population can do something so that they don't have to feel lonely. In fact, loneliness also is another thing that people always long for. People go to Himalayas. Why? Because they want loneliness to meditate, to think about the truth of life. So I think if you look at the positive side of aging population, there are a lot of things to ponder about, a lot of things to feel value about. So that's another point that I wanted to get. Is there any other point that you wanted to speak, Vishnu Babu? But is there any other point that you would like to highlight?
Manoj,
Again.
in the meanwhile, Professor Lopamudra Mahanti has joined.
Okay.
She was the chairman of the chairperson of the Odisha Women's Commission, and very senior lady and a highly respected lady. So she has joined, and she is an example how she, after retirement, how she is keeping herself 24 hours busy.
Let's hear from her. Madam Namaskar. If you want to come on video, that will be great. Otherwise, apan kahi paranti.
Nandi.
ମୁଁ ତ ରିକ୍ୱେଷ୍ଟ କରୁଛି ଅନମ୍ୟୁଟ କରିବା ପାଇଁ। ହଁ କହୁଛନ୍ତି।
ଅନମ୍ୟୁଟ ହେଲା?
ହଁ ଅନମ୍ୟୁଟ କୁହନ୍ତୁ। ହଁ କୁହନ୍ତୁ।
ନମସ୍କାର ସମସ୍ତଙ୍କୁ। ମୁଁ ବିକଳ୍ପରେ ଅନେକ ଥର ଶୁଣିଛି ଅବଶ୍ୟ ଅନ୍ୟମାନଙ୍କ ଇଏରୁ, କିନ୍ତୁ ଗୋଟେ ପ୍ରୋବ୍ଲେମ ହଉଛି ଆପଣ ଯୋଉ କହିଲେ ସିନିୟର ସିଟିଜେନ ମାନଙ୍କର ସବୁଠୁ ସମସ୍ୟା ହଉଛି ନିଜକୁ ଖାପ ଖୁଆଇବା। ନିଜକୁ ଖାପ ଖୁଆଇବା। ଆମେ ଜୀବନ ଆରମ୍ଭରୁ ସାର୍ କୁହନ୍ତୁ ଆମେ ମାନେ କହୁ ଆମର ଜୀବନଟାର ପ୍ରଥମ କଥା ହେଲା ଆମେ ସୋସାଇଟି ପାଇଁ କାମ କରୁଥିଲୁ ଏବଂ ପିଲାମାନଙ୍କୁ ଦେଖୁଥିଲୁ, ପରିବାରକୁ ଦେଖୁଥିଲୁ। ଯେତେବେଳେ ରିଟାୟାର ଏଜ୍ ହେଲା ପରେ ଗୋଟେ ସମସ୍ତଙ୍କ ଭିତରେ ମାନସିକ ଆସୁଛି ମୁଁ ଏବେ କରିବି କ'ଣ। ଏବଂ ମୁଁ ଦେଖୁଛି ଏ ଯୋଉ ଓଲ୍ଡ ଏଜ୍ ହୋମ୍ ଗୁଡାକ ଯାଉଛି ଦେଖୁଛି ସେମାନେ ନିଜକୁ ବଡ ନିଃସଙ୍ଗ ମନେ କରୁଛନ୍ତି। ଏବଂ ତାପରେ ବହୁତ କାମ କରିକି ମୁଁ ଦେଖିଲି ଏ ନିଃସଙ୍ଗତା ହଉଛି କାରଣ ଆଜିକାଲି ପିଲାମାନଙ୍କୁ ଆମେ ଦୋଷ ଦେଇପାରୁ, ସେମାନେ ବହୁତ ଜାଣିଛନ୍ତି, ତାଙ୍କର ଗୋଟେ ନିଜର ଜୀବନ ପୃଥିବୀଟା ଗଢିଦେଲେଣି। ସାର୍ଙ୍କ କଥା ଭିନ୍ନ, ମ୍ୟାଡାମଙ୍କ କଥା ଭିନ୍ନ ଏବଂ ମୋ କଥା ଭିନ୍ନ। ଆମେ ଆଗ ଯାହାହେଲେ ବି ଆମର ୟୁଥ୍ କାଳରେ ଆମେ ବାପା ମାଙ୍କୁ ବହୁତ ଇମ୍ପୋର୍ଟାନ୍ସ ଦଉଥିଲୁ ଆମର ନିଜର ଉନ୍ନତି ବ୍ୟତିରେକ। ବାପା ମା କେମିତି ରହିବେ, ଶାଶୁ ଶ୍ୱଶୁର କେମିତି ରହିବେ ୱିଥ୍ ଆୱାର ୱାର୍କ। କିନ୍ତୁ ଆଜିକାଲି ପିଲାମାନେ ବାପା ମାଙ୍କ ଉନ୍ନତି ଦଉନାହାନ୍ତି। ମୁଁ କେତେବେଳେ ପିଲାଙ୍କୁ ପଚାରିଥିଲି, ମୁଁ କହିଲି କାହିଁକି ତମେ ମାନେ ଏମିତି କରୁଛ? ସେ ପିଲାଟି କହିଲା ଆଜିକାଲିର ବାପା ମା ଯୋଉମାନେ ରହୁଛନ୍ତି, ଯୋଉମାନେ ଆଫ୍ଟର 90ରେ ଜନ୍ମ ହେଇକିନା ବର୍ତ୍ତମାନ ଗୋଟେ ରିଟାୟାରମେଣ୍ଟ ଲେଭେଲକୁ ଆସେ, 90 ନୁହଁ ମୁଁ କହିବି 78ରେ ଯୋଉମାନେ ନୂଆ ନୂଆ ରିଟାୟାରମେଣ୍ଟ କରୁଛନ୍ତି ତାଙ୍କର ବହୁତ ଡିପ୍ରେସନ ଆସୁଛି। ମୁଁ ତାଙ୍କୁ କାଉନସିଲିଂ କଲା ପଚାରିଛି, ସେ କହୁଛି ଆମ ପିଲାମାନେ ପଚାରନ୍ତି। ମୁଁ ସେ ପିଲାମାନଙ୍କୁ ପଚାରିଲି କାହିଁକି ତମେ ବାପା ମାଙ୍କୁ ପଚାରୁନି? ସେମିତି ତ ବାପା ମାଙ୍କୁ ବାପା ମାଙ୍କୁ କାହିଁକି ଗୋଟେ କ୍ଲାସ କାହିଁକି ଏମିତି କରୁଛ? ସେମାନେ କହିଲେ ଆମକୁ ବାପା ମା କହିଲେ ଖାଲି ପାଠ ପଢିବେ। They teach me to earn, not to read ଓଡ଼ିଆ ଲିଟରେଚର। କାହାକୁ କିଛି କରନି। ଏବଂ ବାପା ମା ମାନଙ୍କର ଆମକୁ ଚାଲା ପକେଇ ଦେଇ ଚାଲିଗଲେ କାଳେ ବନ୍ଧୁବାନ୍ଧବ ଆସିବେ। ଏବଂ ଯୋଉମାନେ ବର୍ତ୍ତମାନ 60ରେ ପହଞ୍ଚିଛନ୍ତି ତାଙ୍କ ପିଲାମାନଙ୍କର ବର୍ତ୍ତମାନ ସେଇ ଅସୁବିଧାଟା ଅଛି। କିନ୍ତୁ ଆମ ପିଲାମାନଙ୍କୁ ସାର୍ ଯୋଉ କହିଲେ ଯୋଉ ଭ୍ୟାଲୁ ଟ୍ରାନ୍ସଫର, ଆମେ ମାନେ କାହିଁକି ଆମ ବାପା ମାଙ୍କୁ ପଚାରୁ? ଆମ ପାଖରେ ଆମ ବାପା ମା ଜେଜେବାପା ଜେଜେମାଙ୍କୁ ଭ୍ୟାଲୁ ଟ୍ରାନ୍ସଫର କରିଥିଲେ ଟୁ ଲଭ୍ ଅଦର, ନିଜକୁ ଫରଗେଟ୍। ଏଗେନ୍ ଦି ଭୀମ ଭୋଇ କଥା। ବର୍ତ୍ତମାନ ଗୋଟେ କଥା ହଉଛି ରିଟାୟାରମେଣ୍ଟ ପରେ ଆମକୁ ଖାପ ଖୁଆଇବାକୁ ପଡିବ ପିଲାମାନଙ୍କ ମତିଗତି ସହିତ। ଦିସ୍ ଇଜ ଫାର୍ଷ୍ଟ ପଏଣ୍ଟ। ଯୋଉମାନେ କହୁଛନ୍ତି ନାଇଁ କିଛି କରିବନି, ପିଲାଙ୍କୁ ଯୋଉଟା ଅନ୍ୟାୟ ସତର କଥା କୁହ, ନିଜକୁ ଏନଗେଜ ରଖ ଏବଂ ସବୁ କଥା ଆପଣ ଯୋଉଟା କହିଲେ ଗାୟତ୍ରୀ ନିଜ ପ୍ୟାସନଟାକୁ ଇମ୍ପୋର୍ଟାନ୍ସ ଦିଅ। ତମେ କୋଉଥିରେ ଖୁସିରେ ପାଇବ। ମୁଁ କହୁନି ପିଲାମାନେ ତୁମକୁ ଛାଡ଼ିଦେଇଗଲେ ବେଟର, ୟୁ ଲିଭ୍ ୟୁର ଓନ୍ ଲାଇଫ୍, ୟୁ ଡୁ ନଟ୍ ବଦର ଫର ଅଦର୍ସ। ଆଉ ମେଡିଟେସନ ଆପଣ ଯାହା କହିଲେ, ମେଡିଟେସନ ଯୋଗ ଭଗବାନଙ୍କୁ ସମର୍ପଣ କରିଦେବା ଭାବ ନେଇକି ଗଲେ ଭ୍ୟାଲୁ ଟ୍ରାନ୍ସଫର ଆମକୁ କରିବାକୁ ପଡିବ। ଆମକୁ ପିଲା ପଚାରନ୍ତୁ ନ ପଚାରନ୍ତୁ, ୟୁ ସୁଡ୍ ହ୍ୟାଭ୍ ଦି ଭ୍ୟାଲୁ ଟ୍ରାନ୍ସଫର। ଏବଂ ଆମେ ବି ଭ୍ୟାଲୁ ଟ୍ରାନ୍ସଫର କେବଳ ବାପା ମା ଦେବେନି। ମୁଁ କହୁଛି ଭଗବାନ ସାର୍ଙ୍କ ପାଖରୁ आमे जेते कथा शुणुचु मैडम पाखु जेते कले गोटे अतिथि चर्चा आजिकल अतिथि चर्चा कौन कोको कोला सार घर गले कौन तुम गोटे अला शरबत पाइब दिस इज अतिथि चर्चा जस्ट आजिकल आप क्या घर को जी गोटे किणी आनी कह वेयर हाई अप से कथा करतुनि कल्चर टाक हमको बढ़ेवा पड़ो अदरवाइज देयर इज नो एंड टू इट धन्यवाद
बहुत बढ़िया पॉइंट कहले आई थिंक दिस वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग कांसेप्ट ऑफ बिल्डिंग अप तो आ गोटे जिनस कहना चाहूली कि आम जो एजुकेशन सिस्टम देखिए इंडिया रे बिकॉज ऑफ ऑब्जेक्टिव ओरिएंटेशन 7-8 वर्ष सब आरंभ कर दोचंती कोचिंग जेईटी तुम इंजीनियर हम डॉक्टर हम ऑल मटेरियलिस्टिक तो ताफल कौन होची हमर जो सोशल एजुकेशन जो थिला जो हमर फिजियोलॉजी थिला होम साइंस थिला तो विभिन्न प्रकार जो सोसाइटी यूजफुल थिला एससीपीडब्ल्यू गुड हम क्लास थिला सोशली यूजफुल प्रोडक्टिव वर्क all those things are gone right now तो बर्तमान इंडिया कौन कहले
लाइब्रेरी क्लास कभी नहीं
हाँ लाइब्रेरी आसु नांदी ना
लाइब्रेरी डिबेट
हाँ तो सेगुड़ा सब पळेलानी बर्तमान कोन सो इंडिया इज इंपोर्टिंग द सोशल साइंटिस्ट फ्रॉम यूएस और अदर वेस्टर्न कंट्रीज तो हमर जो वैल्यू सिस्टम ता थिला दैट इज डिटेरियोरेटिंग राइट नाउ किंतु हमर जो स्पिरिचुअल शास्त्र को आजे कि स्वधर्म ठाकुर परधर्म कुकुर से अनुसार यदि इफ यू टॉक अबाउट आवर ओन strength जो इंडिया रो स्ट्रेंथ अछि योगा वेदांत फिलॉसफी लाइफ स्पैन एजुकेशन आई थिंक वी शुड रियली टॉक अबाउट मोर एंड मोर and inject those things into our education system so that people will start learning about all these things नहले लोपमुद्रा मैडम जो कहले कि समस्त ताकू ताला देकी पळे तू पाठ पढ़ खाली पाठ पढ़ चाकरी करे कासे मिसनी तो that will again have the repercussion as they are not taking care of their old population old parents so it will have a negative impact in the long run
से पेरेंट्स माने बहुत बड़ सब दुखित सोचन से पेरेंट्स माने आमे जो माने संसार भीतर थिलु वी आर हैप्पी पिला पसंद न पसंद वी हैव ब्लड रिलेशनशिप अदर रिलेशनशिप अछि जदि मो मन खराब हैला मो भगवान सब घर जाई बसबी नले आ काय घरे बसबी बिकॉज़ वी हैव अ बेटर वर्ल्ड नॉट विथ ब्लड रिलेशन डज नॉट वर्क इमोशनल रिलेशन वर्क्स दैट इज माय फीलिंग आफ्टर माय हस्बैंड डेथ पिला माने निश्चय से देयर आस्किंग मी देयर सब कथारे अछंती किंतु गोटे पैशन टाको बंचेबा को हेले दे डू नॉट अंडरस्टैंड द पीपल सो पीपल के कुछ से जो मैंने हम से इमोशनली इन्वॉल्वड द इमोशनल रिलेशनशिप मस्ट बिल्ड अप थैंक यू
so very good discussions happening
one thing I would like to add. See, when I took retirement from the Commonwealth Secretariat, so they organized a farewell meeting for me. So farewell meeting, they were indirectly what do we do in farewell meeting? You tell people that you are no longer with us. Goodbye. So that is the meaning. So they asked me, what are your post-retirement plans? So I told them one thing. I said, in post-retirement, I'll be the master of my time. So, and now I realize that at post-retirement, I have become busier than when I was in my job.
yes
So my view is, considered opinion is, that preparation for the old age should start in young age. So many of our colleagues, they make a mistake. Once they are in the job, they get socially disconnected. If you are socially disconnected and when you retire, the world will appear as a vacuum because you have not nurtured any relationship. You have not connected with the people. You have never bothered about their problem, their issues. So these kind of preparations to start right at the young age, and particularly in the schooling time, also in the education, when people are in the college, in the university, they should be told how to, because old age is a reality for everybody. It's a reality, and it begins with our childhood. We don't ask people what is your age. We ask him how old are you. Even a 10-year-old child or 5-year-old child, we ask him how old are you. So this concept should be further developed. Our curriculum should be revisited, and there should be topics and content in the curriculum to tell the child that how we are preparing the child to face the job market always. But we don't prepare the family to how to, we don't prepare the students how to have a good family, how to engage themselves in constructive social work, how to prepare themselves for the midlife blues. They don't know midlife blues. Suddenly it appears. Suddenly. And the problem now is, the additional problem is, now young boys and girls in many countries are not marrying. So this is a danger signal for future. So the family is going to be destroyed. The family was the greatest invention of mankind. When men and women started living together. So this was a great idea, great concept, and that concept is now slowly it is getting weaker and weaker and weaker. And the younger people are they have a double burden, because they are the provider for their children. They are also provided for the elderly in the family. They double responsibility. If our boys and girls don't marry, even if when they marry, they also don't want children. So imagine a situation 10 years after, 20 years after, it has been calculated that there will be childless families. I was living in a sector in Chandigarh that was known as the childless sector. Because there is a naukar, there is a kukur, there is a driver, there is and two older people, and there is a servant, and they live with them. So this is the reality which you are going to accept the reality and change our strategy. And people, those who are knowingly disconnect, what happens after retirement? People, those who are in high position, many of them suffer heart attack because sudden loss of power, sudden loss of authority, and departing children. So all these issues together, so people get heart attack because they have never prepared themselves that they have to, in future, they have to face such a situation. So we have to, we need to, in our courses of study, in our curriculum, there should be courses, because everybody will become old one day. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Can I add one thing? Mausa बहुत भला कहले, even समझते, everybody touched upon very good points, and then yeah, situations. But Odisha re jo man achhanti, those who are in Odisha, I would like to point out, yeah, it's very hard to, after the retirement, very hard to integrate yourself with the society without the job. तो जो माने actually those who are in social sector, or जो माने जिमती, there are fields of like teaching, like education and other infrastructure things, they are automatically they are little bit attached to the society, or they can integrate easily. But those who are in banking sector, जिमती से मौसा माने कहिले, that is very hard, like the banking sector makes people so busy, they don't have even time to look after their families, or even जहाँ से मैं कहिले सतरे से अंगल लेभा कथा, माने very hard to give time. And then when you retire, it's a big vacuum, and you get so much time, and you don't know how to do it. And in Odisha especially, or in India also, more or less, most of the that kind of states, like not even like Delhi, Chandigarh, or other places that are not very connected to metro areas, they don't have the facilities where there will be volunteering things, like agencies or anything you can go and volunteer. But you can gradually you can make yourself busy certain way. When your kids are living outside or they are away, it's very hard to really cope up with the situation suddenly, but gradually you can like ମୋ ବାପାଙ୍କ ଇଏରେ ମୁଁ ଦେଖିଛି he was like ମୋର ବଡ ବାପା who was like teacher, he was busy or with so many things, like he didn't feel like he's retired. He like ମଉସାଙ୍କ ଭଳିଆ he became so busy after retirement that he felt good, like I have so much time and I'm using it productively and effectively. But in other way, like ମୋ ଦାଦା ମାନେ ଯୋଉ ମାନେ like banking and other things, it's very hard to integrate. So but only thing is odisha re se sarkar karibe jemti library system or other system where you can go freely and you can volunteer, you can put your time, like quality time, you can give out to the society or societal development, or you can say it your values, or you can pass it to the next generation. It's very hard, but still maybe the government should try, or we will, like through the non-governmental organization, if we would like to have some libraries or centers, like Manoj also has thought of lot of things which is very constructive way to put the libraries or sophitoriums where we can people can go and pass their knowledge. So that is very good, so very healthy discussion. So thank you for allowing me. Yeah, it's very hard, but Zoom re pilla manuku mo dada je bank re thile, so now he is teaching mathematics or economics or other things, to the high school students or whoever relatives or whoever he knows, through Zoom, so that he can at least kill, like give some time to students and also make himself busy.
Very good point, Amita. In honor of time, I think ଆମେ just 5-7 ମିନିଟରେ finish କରିବା. We'll just to try to summarize. ତ ଆମର ଜଣେ ଯୋଉ ମାଟିରେ ସ୍ୱର ଥିଲେ, I think ସେ ନେଟୱାର୍କ ଖରାପ ଯୋଗୁଁ ବୋଧେ ଡ୍ରପ୍ ଆଉଟ୍ ହେଇଗଲେ। ତାଙ୍କର ଗୋଟେ ପଏଣ୍ଟ ଥିଲା, ମୁଁ ସେ ଚାର୍ଟରେ ଲିଖିଥିଲେ, ମୁଁ ତାକୁ ପଢି ଦଉଛି। ଅବସର ପରେ ସାମାଜିକ କାର୍ଯ୍ୟ, ସାହିତ୍ୟ, ସାମାଜିକ ଚର୍ଚ୍ଚା, ଲେଖାଲେଖି ଇତ୍ୟାଦିରେ ନିଜେ କରିବା ପାଇଁ ଉଦ୍ୟମ କରିବା ଆବଶ୍ୟକ। ଯୁବବର୍ଗ ବଶିଷ୍ଠ ମାନଙ୍କ ଠାରୁ ପୂର୍ବ ଇତିହାସ ସଂଗ୍ରହ କରିବା ସହ ସେମାନଙ୍କ ସହିତ ବେଶୀ ମିଶିବା ଆବଶ୍ୟକ ଓ ସେବା ସମ୍ମାନ ଶ୍ରଦ୍ଧା ଇତ୍ୟାଦି ଦେବା ଆବଶ୍ୟକ। ପାରିବାରିକ ସମ୍ପର୍କ ଯୋଡ଼ିବା ଏବଂ ସେମାନଙ୍କ ସହିତ ସମୟ କଟେଇବା ଆବଶ୍ୟକ ଇତ୍ୟାଦି। ଏଇ ଜିନିଷରେ ମୁଁ କହୁଛି, ମାନେ ଗୋଟେ ଜିନିଷକୁ ଆମେ କହିବାକୁ ବାଲାନ୍ସ ବହୁତ ଦରକାର। ଯେକୌଣସି ଷ୍ଟେଟରେ ଥିଲେ, ଆପଣ ବ୍ୟାଙ୍କିଂରେ ଥାନ୍ତୁ, ଟିଚରସିପରେ ଥାନ୍ତୁ, ଇଞ୍ଜିନିୟର ହୁଅନ୍ତୁ, ଟାଇମ୍ ବି ଗିଭେନ୍ ଇଜ ଅନଲି 24 hours। କିନ୍ତୁ ସେଇ 24 ଘଣ୍ଟା ଭିତରୁ ଆମେ କେତେ ସମୟ ନିଜ କ୍ୟାରିୟର ପାଇଁ ଦେବା, କେତେ ସମୟ ପରିବାର ପାଇଁ ଦେବା, କେତେ ସମୟ ନିଜ ପାଇଁ ଦେବା, we have to always balance it out because the time is always constant। ତ ସେ ଅନୁସାରେ ଆମେ ଯଦି ବାଲାନ୍ସ କରିବା, ତାହେଲେ ଲାଇଫରେ ଯେମିତି ନନା କହିଲେ କି you should try to prepare yourself when you are young for the retirement because retirement is a naked truth of life। ତ ସେଇ ଦୃଷ୍ଟିରୁ we have to be balanced। ଆଉ ଗୋଟେ ସେକେଣ୍ଡ ଜିନିଷ ହେଲା କି we have to reorient our purposefulness, କାରଣ ସମସ୍ତେ ଗୋଟେ ପର୍ପୋଜ ଥାଏ ଲାଇଫର। ସବୁ ଏଜ୍ ହିସାବରେ ଡିଫରେଣ୍ଟ ସିଚୁଏସନ ଯେତେବେଳେ ଆସେ, we have to reorient our purposefulness। ଜାପାନର society, they are the aging population, they live much longer compared to any part of the world। ତାଙ୍କର ଗୋଟେ କନସେପ୍ଟ ଥାଏ ଇକିଗାଏ। ଇକିଗାଏ ମାନେ there has to be a reason for living। so ସକାଳୁ ଉଠିଲା ପରେ they go out to the gardening, they go out to the farmers market, they go and then mix with people, they play around, they take care of a lot of social activities। so they always have a reason to live। so if you don't have that reason, ଯୋଉଟା ଆପଣ କହୁଥିଲେ କି ଆଶା ଓ ସ୍ୱପ୍ନ, ଯୋଉଟା ସୂର୍ଯ୍ୟ ଜୀବନର ଚନ୍ଦ୍ର ଓ ସୂର୍ଯ୍ୟ, so we have to be hopeful about life। we have to repurpose ourselves so that whatever the best strength that I have, I should contribute back, and the society also in turn value those things, so that there is a nice win-win situation for the society to raise different kind of harmony relationship with the aging population। I think that's what my summary। so anybody would like to summarize this for another 4-5 minutes? That will be the end of our conversation today। Yeah, Nana, maybe you can summarize the whole thing, for anyone who can. Prakash, you can summarize the whole thing so that we can have a good conclusion, closer to the webinar।
Yeah, I think first, I think one thing I'll just want to kind of all of us to think and also reinforce everybody's thought process is the best way to live life is embrace the reality, embrace it, as opposed to trying to live ourselves in the past or in the future. So I'll just going to kind of take an excerpt from somewhere that I read where it says that by age 30, we need to have figured out who we are in this world, solving the crisis of identity. By age 40, we have to figure out how to make a living that is seriously aligned with our big five intrinsic motivations. And those motivations are curiosity, passion, purpose, sense of autonomy, and mastery of our inner self. By 50, we need to forget old grudges, forgive those who have done us wrong, and generally clear our emotional slate. Finally, somewhere along the way, we need to counteract the rising risk aversion and general fragility that accompany aging. So this is something, a very powerful quote that came in an article called Big Think. And I think I'll just, because they didn't mention what to do after 60, I'm going to borrow something else from Alibaba's founder. He once said, if you're still working after 60 for your living, or if you're still trying to compete with some other younger generations, you're doing something wrong. After 60, you should be coaching. You should be making the young harness their full potential. You be the coach, you be the mentor, you be the inspirer for them, and pass on your values that many of us here spoken very loudly, how important it is to really pass on that legacy, pass on that baton from one generation to the other, very gracefully, not in a forceful way. Actually, many times we tend to blame younger generation. That has been happening probably since time immemorial. Our great grandfather will be telling the same thing to our grandfather telling to our fathers, and our father telling to us similarly. But many times it happens because the time changes and they have to live in their time. We have to live in their time, but it has to be passed on very gracefully and should be embraced by the younger generation gracefully. And I think that old and young harmony that many of us spoken here also is extremely powerful.
Very well said, Prakash. Nana, you would like to summarize the whole anything towards the end? Unmute yourself.
I have already shared my views, and I would only repeat that the preparations should start at a young age. Our educational planners, they are not very conscious about it, though India has a national policy on elderly people. This policy has been adopted in 2017 probably. I was the advisor to Helpage India International for 3 years, and I developed a policy for them. I had divided the old age into 3 categories: the younger old, older old, and real old. So younger old is the time is 60 to 75. So, and older, the problem in each state, the problems are different. The problems faced by the 60 to 70 people, their problem is different from the problem faced by people who are between 70 to 80. After 80, the real old that comes, which I have named it as the period of assisted living. When you need others' assistance to survive. But one good thing about the old age is, in the old days, if you find recently there is a report from the Nobel studies, most of the people who have received Nobel Prize in different subjects, most of them have received it during their period of 65 to 75 years. So 65 to 75 years is a very, very productive period in one's life. So only if we have made preparation from the beginning.
So very good. Thank you very much. Aji samay higala. Ame next conversation kariba gute Odia diaspora in the world. We are trying to work for that. After 1 week, we'll meet there. we're trying to collect all the ODIs who have done a lot of work in the world. So we'd like to invite them and then try to have this meeting. ODI diaspora, the importance of ODI diaspora, or whatever the impact or the contribution of the ODI diaspora in the world. तो आमर गोटे चैनल अच्छी यूट्यूब रे तार विकल्प चैनल मु चार्ट लिखि देछि तो इफ यू लाइक टू सब्सक्राइब टू दैट बी गुड आमर ये जो कन्वर्सेशन टा वी ऑलवेज रिकॉर्ड इट एंड टिके एडिट करके हम ताको पब्लिश करू सो इफ यू हैव मिस्ड इट इफ यू हैव जॉइंड रिसेंटली यू कैन ऑलवेज कैच अप ऑन दैट आमे जो प्रथम रे जो टॉक टे भी प्ले करथिलु सेटा भी यूट्यूब विकल्प चैनल ले अछि तो यू कैन ऑलवेज visit the channel and listen to those.
One thing I would like to tell you, something which I learned from a teacher. I was waiting in the lounge in the Sydney airport, Australia. I was I was on my way to Solomon Islands. So while sitting, I just happened to see a lady. So when we started little conversation, I asked her about her background. She told me, I am a Te Hariki teacher. Te Hariki. Te Hariki. Hariki is WHARKI. Te is TE. I'm a Te Hariki teacher. So then I asked her, what is Te Hariki? Because she was from the Maori tribe of Australia, New Zealand. She was a Maori. She said, in our culture, in Maori, we call it Te Hariki means the woven mat. In English, it is woven mat. When we weave a mat, there are several threads we use. So we use family members as thread. And they go through, and that is how they keep the members of the family together. So what they do, they engage their elderly people in teaching the younger generation, in transferring values, in using them as storytellers of the past. So that is the elderly can, and what the younger people do, they will sing song. They will spend time with their grandparents. So similarly, parents have a role. Everybody role. It is like a mat. Masina, we call it Masina. Masina is a crisscross with threads. So all family members participate in the Te Hariki model, and they help each other. That is how they bind the family together.
I think this is one of your chapters in the Lucy's children book, Woven Mat, isn't it?
Yes, Woven Mat.
Right.
My book, Lucy's Children, so there is a chapter on this.
Right.
I think one thing could be good is if we can bring a very influential figure who hasn't featured here before, and you want to invite them as an honorary guest to kind of give some of their experiences. That might also be very nice for the viewers. Maybe it will also increase a lot of viewership.
Who did you say, Prakash? Who did you say?
I don't have anyone in mind.
That's influencers.
If you think of any influencer, right. It could be from any sphere. Could be from technology, business, social work. It doesn't matter. Who has a lot of outreach. We can invite and they can present some of their viewpoints. It's good for, I think, Bikalp also as well, because a lot of people will try to watch such people giving presentations, talks anyway.
Okay, great. I think we'll work on that. That's a very good point. Manoj das likhithile tang chatri ki I'm going to apply few of my learnings to my father in day-to-day life. That's good. So we have learned a lot. Thank you very much, everybody, for your wonderful time, very valuable time. So, and we'll see you again. Namaskar.